ಇವತ್ತು ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ 2 ಬಂದಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಏನದು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ? ಅವರು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
ನಾನು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಬಟ್ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಬೇಡ. ಕಾಪ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ 2 ಬಂದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಸರಿ ಇದೆಯಾ 1 and 2 ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಅಂತಂದೆ.
Good morning, sir. Today's day 3 science week has been started live streaming in YouTube.
ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಬಾ, ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು.
ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಪುಟಮನ್ ಕರೆಯಿಂದ
ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು.
ಈ ದೂರ
Jay,
Hello.
hello, JAYAKUMAR, can you see me?
Yeah, but you guys have unmuted. You stopped my video, so I can't. See
All
my
right,
video.
so these guys are enabling right now. Ganesh Murthy, you there? Dr. Ganesh Murthy?
Yes, sir, I'm here, sir.
Yes, sir. So the JAYAKUMAR cannot open his video. Yeah, we can see you now, Jay.
Just
Okay.
sir, yes, sir, if they are on the way, they'll do it, sir. No issue.
Yeah. This time anyway.
Sir, good evening, sir. Jaikumar, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Sir, doing good, sir.
Can you see the thing that I put up on the
Yeah,
screen?
Oh, yes.
Definitely we can.
Some grapes and all are nice.
Sir, VC sir will also join, it seems.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
Okay, so we have given the link also for him. So we will wait for another 7 minutes, sir. 9:30 exactly we will start, sir.
No problem. I will just stop my video and then I'll join at that time. Okay.
Yep.
You can have a chat with Shesh Sai, sir. No issue with that.
I talked to too much time with Sheshashai.
Okay. Okay, sir. No. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'll share it when I want. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
catch it. Give me 5 minutes, Shesha. I'll come back. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. No worries.
Good morning, Shesha sir.
Good morning. Oh, hi. Nitesh,
Hi, sir.
very good. Video pop up, right?
No, sir, it's okay. It's science week, right?
Yeah. Why scientific people shouldn't see you?
Yeah, good, sir.
Hi, Sham.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
In 5 minutes, sir, join ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ.
Actually, JAYAKUMAR is also taking 5 more minutes. ಇನ್ನು 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ 9:30ಗೆ.
ಇನ್ನು 9:30 5 minutes ಇದೆ.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you, sir.
ಹರೀಶ್ ಅಂಗೂ ಕಳ್ಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಶ್ಯಾಮ್?
ಹರೀಶ್ ಸರ್
ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಇದನ್ನು.
ಕಳಿಸಿ ಸರ್.
Hey, Shesha. Do I need to increase the light or you okay with the light?
Hey, that's okay. Perfectly all right.
Okay.
I only put the light on because I'm not visible otherwise. I always see the difference. I'll switch off this damn table lamp. See that? How was the dinner meeting? Is it over?
Yeah, I said I can't have too much wine today because it'll be a problem for me to speak if I have so much wine.
Yeah, students are joining as always, slow to get up.
So this is a Zoom video meeting, is it?
Yeah, actually, we have physical things everywhere. We wanted to have it hybrid mode so that we would have had the entire auditorium sitting there. But then that I think is a challenge because sometimes in the auditorium, if the signal doesn't work, and we will lose you, unfortunately, and that will not be nice.
I see.
So they decided that they should have it online. And that would be also a good one because we are connected globally. I'm trying to call Harish.
You have called is speaking to someone.
Good morning, Jaya sir. Can you
Huh?
just check with your presentation share screen option? Is it working?
I
Jay-
think it should work.
No, is a share thing seen there? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. Perfect. Make it full screen. Oh, yeah, there you are.
Good,
That's-
sir. Thank you.
That's it. You must have given these talks 1,000 times, no? All these kind of Zoom link talks.
Actually, yesterday I asked I have an AI presentation thing. I just said, here's the presentation topic. Generate a few slides, and it quickly generated some logic for me. So
Hey, Tia, good morning. Tia. Bye, guy. JAYAKUMAR online idane bara. ನಾನು ನಿನಗೆ ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೇನೆ ನೋಡು ಲಿಂಕ್. All right.
ನಾವು ಫೈನಲ್ ಇಯರ್ ಒಳಗ MSc ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
Sir, Shesha sir,
Yes, sir.
shall we start?
Oh, yes. I mean, is the VC coming?
No, because 9:30 it is, because
Yeah.
we have to complete by as early as possible, so that the concurrent sessions have to start.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's start.
Kindly you can start by introducing the guest, so that we can invite the guest and start his presentation. And
All right.
time in case if the vice chancellor comes in between, you
Yeah.
just make him okay, you are welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to Dr. Shesh Science.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. My colleagues, my students. I mean, this is okay. And therefore, this is something, JAYAKUMAR, this is the Science Week. We have started this program about 10 years ago. All the PG students will showcase their research. Masters will put posters. Team, their department wise, there will be some groups that they have done social science plan, like life sciences and all that. And then the PhD students will give a talk for 10, 12 minutes. And all these things are judged by external examiners, and they will be given some incentive prizes and all that during the foundation day of the university. So this is some kind of a small activity that we thought we should start. And I think it has caught up very well. There's a lot of enthusiasm. Students come and join and listen to all these things. So that is about the program, JAYAKUMAR. And I mean, I have great pleasure in introducing one of my most distinguished classmates. And we studied together, and I think he took major in crop physiology, if you remember, during the final year of our BSc Agriculture. So we had a very intense time during the undergraduate period. He did his BSc AG here with us during 1981 and 85. And then he went on to do his master's from the Indian Institute of Management at Ahmedabad. And I think he was one of those very early guys who went to do that kind of a course. And once he was there in the IIM, he was one of those excellent guys that I can remember during the UG days. And this kind of competition helped us. I want to tell this to the students so that we had a healthy competition between ourselves. It really helps because JAYAKUMAR gave a talk during when we were in the first year, and I never heard a damn thing called laser. He was the one who told me there is something called as light amplification modulated energy radiations called laser, and what the laser does. And he used to have a lab of himself. His father was in Bharat Electronics Limited. He used to do all those experiments himself at home, very young in his age, and therefore it is something which is like excellence comes with you, born with you. You cannot create excellence, but you can really develop that into something bigger with time and practices. Therefore, Jai went on to become, he was in the private enterprise for a very long time. He's been working in the, it's called the Fortune 100 companies. I don't know if you know what is Fortune 100 company. These are the 100 biggest companies in the United States. So that means he has actually handled as the chief officer of many companies, handling more than $2 to $3 trillion business. And he has worked in companies which has more than 30,000 employees. I mean, this is something not an easy task. And I mean, if I were to manage a department of 3 people, it's already tiresome. Imagine 3 trillion, 30,000 people. This is amazing. And I'm glad that he still smiles with this very sweet smile, charming smile that he always had. He's been in companies like PepsiCo as the chief marketing officer. And then he worked as in the other, the craft food. And now he is working in a company called Bayada Healthcare. And that actually cares for health at home. I mean, when I read the profile of the company, it's really interesting. It says that they take care of their clients as if they are their own people, their own family people, and that's a huge activity in the United States to take care of health is something important. And Jai, for us, is called Jai, and he's been successful in very many different places in the world. And he will now take us through the journey that he has had. What are all the opportunities that we have in agriculture, especially scientific agriculture? I don't know if you are talking, Jai, also about something to do with the artificial intelligence and machine learning activities. All right. So it's about, I think, Manu, correct me if I am wrong. It's about 45 minutes of talk followed by about 10-15 minutes of discussions with students.
Yes.
Thank you very much for accepting this invitation, Jai. It's over to you, sir.
Sir, before that, I welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr.
Oh, has he come?
So, yes, sir, he has also joined. Sir, on behalf of the entire team, I welcome you, sir, for this particular interaction. Sir, few words from Honorable Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Banu Prakash.
Sir.
JAYAKUMAR.
How are you, Dr. Suresh?
Yeah, fine. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, welcome to US, Bangalore again. It's your university.
Yes, it
and
is.
we are proud to have you as our invited speaker today.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Suresh and Dr. Sesh. I find it odd to call you guys doctors. I used to call you Suresha and Sheshashai.
Yes, sir. Call it just like that.
That's better always.
Yeah.
Is Harisha there? Because Harisha is the one who said you got to come and all that. I hope he's
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I just called him and I told him.
No, he will join. He will join now.
He'll join.
All right. Now, this is thank you, Shesha, for a very very warm welcome. It's a privilege to be part of University of Agriculture Sciences. I always have the pride in the heritage of running around the campus with at least Suresha and Sheshashai and Harisha and quite a lot of friends, and I have wonderful memories. So what I thought, Shesha had briefed me and said, hey, listen, what we want to talk about is what the opportunities are there for each of you as graduate students, both postgraduate and PhD students, and what the world offers as opportunity for each one of you. And I wanted to give you a little color around how I think about the opportunities. So that was one small section. And the second section is, what have I learned? What are the three, I've taken down 3 lessons that I've gotten from very, very influential people in my life. And I thought I would be useful to share those too. So that's kind of the structure. Please add your comments. More than eager to answer more questions. I don't want to speak for 40 minutes because I think it'll be helpful to get more interactions. But with that context, let me set up the opportunity space. So the best way to think of it is, what is the role that each of you can play in the world and in India, if you think of it in terms? You can see the number there, 3 billion. Interestingly and sad that in spite of the most advanced agricultural production techniques that we have built, in spite of the fact that United States, India, many countries have actually reduced and improved productivity massively and reduced the dependence on the amount of cultivated area, unfortunately, by 2030, 3 billion people will have some form of malnutrition, some form of not having the amount of food resources they need. So that's kind of point one. What it means is that we all collectively, the students here, the master students and the PhD students, have an accountability. And the accountability is, how do you transform and ensure that we collectively can solve this problem? So that's kind of the context to the situation. And if I take it down to India, the number of people that are expected to be at risk of hunger in 2030, which is less than the next 5 years, is over 875 million. And this is an underestimated number. If you think of undernutrition, the number of kids in India, particularly adults and kids, is about 150 million. So that's the problem statement. So the first thing I would say is, each one of you could play a pivotal role in agriculture to transform and alleviate this major challenge in the world, right? So that is first statement. So statement one, we have an incredible opportunity and each of you can play a pivotal role in that opportunity. The next question is, how do you want to think about it? And there are three dynamics that is occurring in agriculture. And in particular, I'm going to touch upon a few elements of what's happening in India. The first is 60% of the dietary energy come from three crops: rice, maize, and wheat. 60%. What does that mean? It means that a large part of the undernutrition of the world is because we do not have adequate biodiversity. And as students of agriculture, each of you have a very important role to play, that is to reduce the dependence on just rice, maize, and wheat, and make sure we are able to cultivate a variety of crops beyond these three primary sources. Because long-term, the world as well as India's dependent on a few crops for majority of the nutrition and dietary energy is not a sustainable long-term proposition. So that's point one. Point two on the dynamics is undernutrition and obesity. So in India, we have this dichotomy where we have obesity growing 35%, and we have undernutrition and hunger growing at the same rate. The fact that these two things coexist tells you that, boy, as agriculture students and students of horticulture and all the different facets of agriculture, what could you do to restructure the challenge of undernutrition on one end and obesity on the other end? And obesity is connected to the fact that 60% of the dietary energy comes from raised meat and wheat, and a lot from saturated fats. And the third point, which is more dangerous, is 60% of the agriculture land in India and the world is actually going to cattle, where cattle is now becoming, they're grazing and they're using it for production of beef, they're using it for production of meat. And the challenge in that is the rest of the agricultural land will have to produce much more to sustain a large growing population. So the second comment I would make is, so the first comment I would make is, we have a huge opportunity as students of agriculture to transform what we can do to the world. And number two is, boy, we have two problems simultaneously: a problem of obesity on one end and undernutrition on the side. And the fact that our land, which is now focused on agriculture, is becoming less biodiverse, rice, maize, and wheat, and the land needs to be massively more productive if we have to meet the needs of the population in the next 5 years, forget by 2050. In fact, by the time the world population reaches 10 billion, we expect 3.5 billion people not to have enough food. And that's because the production of agriculture needs to be massively different in the next 20, 25 years. And each of you given your age, I'm in a much older group, have an incredible opportunity to make that happen. And so what I want to focus, and there are many things you could all do. And there are spaces in research, spaces in application, whether it's agronomy, extension, and so on and so forth. There are many places that each of you could play a role. But the one I want to focus on is what I believe is going to be transformative in the next frontier of agricultural productivity. And that's what we use the term generative AI. And generative AI is different from regular AI because of certain capabilities that I will touch upon as we go. But if I were to step back and say, what is going to impact agriculture? And I'm going to use US and India as two examples. I believe there are three things that's going to change. The first is robotic farm automation. And it sounds like, my God, in India, we have labor that is so cheap. Why do you think robotic farm automation will be a big driver of change? I'm going to use a few examples, and these are 5 images of robots that are in real life being used. So the first one is a robot that I used. It's a drone. And what I used, I had bought a piece of land in Hawaii. It's about 42 acres of land. And what I needed was, what's the topography of the land? What's the rate of water flow for rain? What crops can I grow in what elevations on that land? And how do you construct that entire plan? This robot took like probably 45 minutes to give me a road map for the entire area, gave me a topography, told me what the sunrise, sunset, and the amount of sun available potential is in each part of the land, and then connected it to what are the crops that is optimal for the moisture. It went to the internet, looked at 10 years of rainfall data, looked at how much supplemental irrigation I need, and all of that packaged together in a few hours. Just think of the massive productivity that that little robot and a drone, it's a drone, that was able to do for me in that period of time. Next to it is a robot called Centivi. Centivi is a robot that basically can go over 100 acres of land, tell if what the challenge is with each plant and what challenges that need to be solved through which pesticide, which herbicide, and how do you deploy those herbicides in what sequence. Think of what I just said. All of that, a little device like this, just scanning the entire farm, determining what's the most optimal combination of things you can do. The third robot, maybe not as relevant for India, but India too has labor conditions, is harvesting. This is becoming the largest trend we are seeing in the United States. These drone robots can harvest a tree in less than 3 minutes. When it harvests an apple or it harvests a strawberry or a tomato, it's so gentle and so precise that there is 99% recovery. There is zero damage. It can even put it in cartons, literally pack the cartons and put it in our hands. So productivity in harvesting and retention and preventing any damage is the third robot. The one on the bottom left is a herbicide robot. What this does is it covers 60 acres of land in the night, one night. And in one night, it can use, there's a laser pointer in this robot that basically kills all the weeds. You can program it and tell which weeds to kill. And without any herbicide, without any pesticide, it destroys all the weeds in the land, keeping the land pretty clean from a pesticide need. And the last robot is considered the world's largest robot. It's about 80 feet width. It can take 100 pictures of a plant less than every minute. So in every few seconds, it can take a picture. It's used in physiology. And what this robot does is it takes all the data, about 100 terabytes, sends it to 2 universities, completes the analysis, and then when the robot comes back, it sprays exactly what chemical is needed for which plant so that the plants can thrive. So my first point would be, as students of agriculture and students of horticulture, any forms of university, master's or PhD programs, is start to think about technology in a way that you have not thought of before. Because this is available today. You don't need to be a robotic engineer to use these things. You need to be an agriculture graduate to determine what's the most optimal use of these things. So you don't like, so it's very important distinction, because these are screwdrivers. If you go to crop physiology department, I'm sure Shesha will say, here are all the tools that you have to do analysis. To me, these are tools of, if 30 years ago, the bullock cart and the plow was the tool, tomorrow the tool is going to be a robot. The most important thing is for each of you to think about how you can play a role in bringing your knowledge of agriculture with the application of robotics that can transform productivity in agriculture. So that's comment one, what the role you can play. And we'll talk, if you want, later on how to approach this. Comment two is what you're now hearing a lot of, what is called LLM applications. LLM stands for large language models. What large language models, and you might have heard ChatGPT, some of you might have heard, but ChatGPT is essentially a way of AI that can take regular human language, analyze it, and provide perspective. So what did I do? Because Shesha is my friend, I said, show me the summary of the 2 latest research reports and tell me a little bit of the authors. So that was the question I asked, in this case, an LLM model. And promptly, and I said, tell me the 2 latest reports in physiology. And I don't know if these are the latest 2, but it picked up these 2. One was that seed size is an imperative trait for seed vigor and drought tolerance in rice. That was paper 1. And the second one is relevance of acquired tolerance traits and root length in determining spike-like fertility. Those were the 2 latest it picked up. And it said, I asked them, what did you see? Well, there are 2 common authors. Preeti Vijaya Raghavareddy was one, and Sheshashai Sriman, my good friend, was the second. And then it said, oh, by the way, there's one unique author for paper 1, and the name is Donia Albert. And it also said the unique author for paper 2 was Lakshmi VS and Karthik Nanaya. And it then added, oh, by the way, Shesha, who is one of the thing, has 165 publications in his record, 39,174 reads, and 3,572 citations. This took 2 minutes for me to get a response. I mean, I just literally typed the question, what are the 2 latest reports, and tell me a little bit about the authors of that. So then I asked another question. I said, what do you find as the common characteristics of these 2 reports? First, it said, the first thing is it said the both of the papers focus on rice or rice as sativa. The house, so forget about the house of earth and blood. Don't worry about that. But that was the first part. Second, it said both papers talked about drought tolerance and acquired tolerance trait. And they said the first paper technically mentions drought tolerance. The second one refers to an acquired tolerance, and both seems to have the ability to dwell into rice plants to determine the potential to thrive under suboptimal conditions. The third thing they said, both papers had agronomic traits influencing performance. The first concentrated on seed size, the second focused on root length. It talked about how yield and the implications potential. All of this, by the way, took me less than 5 minutes, and I don't understand one word of physiology in this construct. My point is, what Gen AI, what is called large language models, I can take, hey, let's show me the top 50 reports across University of Agriculture Science and tell me the top 5 conclusions you can make. It will take 5 minutes to do that, or even less. It takes 3 minutes to do that. And the ability for large language model applications in the university, and I personally believe I would put an appeal to both Suresha, Shesha, Harish, and all of that, become a center in the world. At least become a center in India, because none of the agriculture universities have started exploiting the potential. This cost me $20 a month. That's all. It's not even expensive to kind of construct what I'm describing here. And if I were to ask them to generate the picture, it also starts generating pictures of what this could do, what it could mean, the sentiment, the emotion. So the ability to do what I'm going to call agricultural analytics using LLM, which is large language models, is an incredibly differentiated opportunity for GKVK to say, hey, listen, we are going to make this center advanced in robotic applications in agriculture, advanced in AI applications in agriculture, and you guys actually can be leaders. And by the way, it is not very difficult to do. So that would be my second thought to consider. And third, which has grown, is vertical farming. Because I told you that 60% of the land had moved to to cattle, the opportunity per square foot to grow stuff is starting to become incredibly important. This is the world's largest vertical farm. I mean, in less than a room of 20 by 20, I can generate 1 ton of tomatoes. That's the amount of volume that can be generated. And vertical farming, the biggest vertical farm, shame on us a little bit. I feel ashamed of this because Dubai has taken a leapfrog compared to India on this. Dubai has one of the fastest growing vertical farms in the world. And I believe this is super critical technology that is not expensive. It's capital intensive, don't get me wrong, but it is a kind of technology that I believe, like GKVK, if I'm thinking of, what Suresh can leave as a legacy and what Harisha and Sheshashai and the rest of the team can help drive, this would be an example of frontiers of agriculture productivity to consider. So to me, if I were to just focus on that topic, which is how does AI help? I would say it's robotics. Robotics is available. India has got some of the most advanced robotic engineers in the world. It's accessible and available. Number 2, it would be LLM, which is large language models, using generative AI to do analysis and analytics in agriculture is honestly very low barrier. You guys can start driving the leadership of that. And number 3 would be vertical farming. Those 3, in my view, can fundamentally transform what you can all play as a role. You guys can become leaders. And I genuinely believe there is no agriculture university in India that is even thinking about these things. And I believe many agriculture universities in the world is not thinking of it. And GKV could take a premier position, and you all could have a phenomenal career as a result. So the last part of my presentation is focused on what have I learned. And these are more philosophic, not necessarily practical. And the best way to factorize it is the word impossible actually can be converted to I am possible. And what could it take to make each of you have the opportunity to make it possible? The number 1 lesson I've learned, and I learned it late, is clarity of your purpose in life. The 2 most important days in every human being's life is the day you're born and the day you find out why you're born. And the day you find out why you're born is the indication of clarity of purpose. Why do you exist? I think I had a college, I went to a place in the United States called, it's called the Human Performance Institute, and they give you a 3-day program. All you do is write up literally a couple of paragraphs. What's your purpose in life? And many people say, well, it's to take care of my children, make sure my parents are fine, my kid is, that is not purpose. Purpose is more deep. It is more about what you personally want as to leave as the thumbprint in life. And what purpose really helps you with is when there are many distractions, you don't get distracted. You can ridiculously focus and get stuff happen. In fact, the best example of purpose is in this Performance Institute. They train the FBI, the CIA, these big athletes, and they say, when athletes come and we train them, we tell them, we take them in a bus and say, hey, you're going to run on the side of a field. There are these water snakes come, and everybody, all the athletes are now nervous. And when they create tension after tension, you see the athletes are not able to perform. But the FBI and the CIA professionals always perform. And the difference between the two is the CIA has a mission, they will achieve the mission. The athletes, richer, bigger guys, physically more fit, do not achieve the mission. And the difference between the two is clarity of purpose. So my first thinking for, if I did it when I was 42 years old, I think if you do it when you're 20 and 30, it will have much value in your entire life. The second lesson I learned is this guy, his name is Eric Weinmeier, is a very good friend of mine. He's blind. And even though he's blind, he's climbed Everest 6 times. And he talked to me about when he was a little child, he started losing his eyesight. And he said, at that moment, it struck me. I have to figure out what to do in the world that I can do in spite of every adversity. And I thought maybe adversity is an advantage. What's the one thing a blind guy can do? And he said, I have no fear. I can see a slope, which is 10,000 feet in the Everest. I can't see it, so I don't have any fear. And so he converted an adverse situation to become a top tier mountaineer in the world. And he's not even a mountaineer. Can you imagine that? And he's got a beautiful book called Adversity Advantage. And my second lesson in life, we think sometimes luck is not on our side. Luck is never on our side. You do not control it. You do not control stimulus. You only control response. And it is up to us to create that advantage. And I personally believe if Eric, a blind guy, can climb Everest 6 times with the disadvantages he had, all of us are blessed with a lot of advantage. And we really have to figure out how to unlock the advantage and not take adversity as a difficulty. So that would be my lesson 2 in life. And lesson 3 was something my boss, she taught, Indra Nui, who was the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo. She used to say, Jaya, you do not get points to predict rain. Don't come to me and tell me there is a rain. You get points to build an ark. What's your solution? And I think very often we play victim. We think it is all about telling how difficult life is, how difficult the situation is. But what people want to hear is what you can do to help build an ark. And so to me, having a solution orientation is super critical for success, especially as many of the people in this audience, I think there's about 250 of them, you guys are young. You guys are incredibly intelligent. The world is your oyster. And if you put your mind to it, you can convert this word impossible to I'm possible. So with that, thank you for the time and attention. Let me stop sharing, and I'm more than eager to answer any questions you have or thoughts that you may want to share. Especially, I'm very passionate if there's anything I can do to help the university really become a world-class place on some of the topics I discussed. And I think our Bangalore University, our university has everything available to do that. I'd be more than keen to help. But with that, let me pause, Shesha, and open it up for any questions or thoughts.
Thank you, Jaya. That is as scintillating as it always has been. Whenever I talk with you, it's been energizing for us, for sure. I'm sure that the students and other faculty colleagues that I have in the audience will share the same opinion. I mean, just to, before we open up this, we are talking about a whole lot of things which you said about AI enabling precision agriculture. We have started a number of collaborations with the Indian Institute of Science. We have also talked about drones. We have set up some proposals to DBT. Let's hope the money comes soon. The moment we get that, the objective is to ensure all the resources are delivered to the plant precisely. Though not the Israeli way, but then we are trying to develop our own Indian way of doing things, predicting the hunger before the hunger really becomes very hungry, and then supplying that kind of resource like nutrition, water. Like you said, that even the robot which goes and picks up the weeds, we are training them to sort of distinguish a cereal weed and a cereal crop. I mean, in the sense, a monocot crop like rice. If there's a wheat growing, a ragi growing in a rice field, the robot doesn't recognize. So we are trying to now develop some kind of algorithms to train those camera and then pick up the kind of thing. So I just wanted to tell you that there's something on the way, and we would definitely like to discuss more on those areas. And of course, there's one more thing which I discussed that day with you was the nutrition aspects. So the malnutrition that is there cannot be taken care of by producing more. We need to produce more high quality kind of stuff. And I think the students and faculty would definitely take note of what you said. And then we will strive forward to go towards becoming perhaps the best agriculture university in the country. And I mean, my hunger is why not the world?
Oh, that's good, Shesha. In fact, I just noticed Krishna Raj, my good friend and colleague, has joined. And hey, Krishna, I don't know which university. He's in Dharwad, right?
Dharwad. Right. What I did, Manu Prakash had given me this link. I sent it to all my classmates so that they will all come and listen.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. I got 2 questions so far, and let me address.
I'll just read out, sir, before you go take up that question. I'll just read the question for the benefit of the other audiences.
Okay.
So I take this opportunity to welcome our beloved board member, Dr. Harish sir also. Sir, Dr. Harish sir, welcome sir for this particular for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, Jaya.
Hey, Harish, how are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Your talk was amazing. I just want to compliment before everybody else come in. It was great, and it's totally a different kind of an experience for our students. So
Wonderful.
for having a meeting like this, so that's one great thing. Yeah.
I'll just.
Banu, I suggest that, when you have so much, we have the other session start at 10:30.
Yes.
And it's 10 o'clock, it's 9:30 for him at United States for Jaya. It's
Yeah.
not that very late for him to stay awake for some more time. Why don't you make the students talk instead of just reading something?
There are few questions that I will definitely put forth before him. So the number one was that from the another one PhD scholar from agricultural extension. He has questioned that, sir, what will be the future of AI and chatbot? So especially in digital agricultural communications, in agricultural extensions, in global and as well as in Indian framework. This is Sandeep from agricultural extension. Over to you, sir.
Right. I mean, I think Dr. Suresh will probably be more intelligent about the response, but let me give you what I think, what I'm starting to see as the trend in communication. Because extension ultimately is the dissemination of knowledge of what are the best practices in agriculture that can help a farmer. And what the farmer wants is quick responses, quick ideas to solve solutions that they can deal. To me, the way to try this on chatbot and AI is for GKVK to create, let's call it, what is that? I'm trying to think of a nice tagline. Farmer extension 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's a chatbot that we can train and actually put it on agricultural website. And any farmer with a simple phone can take a QR code, click on it, ask any question in English or in Kannada, and the response will be there available to them immediately. If they have a picture of a crop having a disease condition, they can take a picture, put it up, GPT will look at that, look at all its data and say, okay, that is likely to be this condition. Here is what we recommend. So to me, what agriculture extension is going to go through is a transformation where it is no longer the traditional way of let me reach ag farmers by walking to the village. It is let me get my knowledge in the hands of the farmer when he needs it, as quickly as they need it. And to be honest, I think this is a very simple solution that GKVK can construct. Think of the MS and PhD students in agriculture in GKVK for the last 20 years. Take all the research paper and convert it to a knowledge base that a farmer can access instantly in a click of a button. So to me, that's where I believe agriculture extension will over time evolve. It's the same thing we see how farmers now control crop selling. If you look at how the entire the auction, the mandi market works for farmers, it has transformed through the same idea territory. So that would be my general response to Sandeep's question around how we might be using AI and chatbot. And I think the best way, Sandeep, why don't you set up a chatbot for farmers in a small village and try it out and see how it's not that difficult, believe it or not. When I say these things, trust me, you guys have more knowledge in agriculture than I will ever have, but I can quickly access most information. Ask me the toughest question, I'll ask my chatbot and it'll tell me what the answer is. So that's my answer to your question. I can read the next question if it's helpful.
The next question from Professor Shivanna from the entomology department. Sir, he has given that, hello sir, wonderful talk indeed. What would be a future perspective of vertical farming in the context of Indian farming, especially farmers? What are your thoughts on it?
See, I think I don't have the expertise to understand the economic demand and supply situation of land, labor, and productivity in India. I don't want to pretend that I know the answer to that question, but I do know that the largest trend we are seeing in the world is vertical farming is growing in urban centers, not in rural places.
Yes.
Because in urban centers, we don't have enough space. So what do you think we can do? We can actually go towards the sky. And so to be able to take the terraces of Bangalore and convert it to vertical farms could completely take care of all the vegetable needs of Bangalore. So to me, that's the first place we are seeing the innovation. It's not necessarily In the US, what we are seeing is, so for example, the CEO of a company, which is Salesforce, bought an island, and that entire island has the largest hydroponics unit in the world. But it's a very different concept. I think it is making more sense in the US because the cost of labor, the cost of logistics, the supply chain, all of that makes economic sense. I think in India, vertical farming is going to start probably in urban areas, not in rural areas. And that's where I believe the demand will start. Now, that's just my perspective. So it's not very well informed. I'm just giving you what I feel based on what I've seen.
So the third question is from one more person. He said that AI-based chat GPT is effective, but will this hamper the student's ability to read and hypothesize the concept?
See, I think there are two schools of thought. One school of thought will do what you just said, and they'll say, my God, the students will become lazy. They will not be studying harder. But it was the same concept when internet came on. They said, well, you can Google everything and you can answer everything by searching everything. All what internet did is raise the standard of human minds being used, not to run around in a library and look at 20 books, but to access the most useful information quickly. And GPT is the evolution of the same thought. I am therefore in the camp of GPT is not going to be stopped because we feel like it will hamper the students' ability to read and write. The professors have to now rethink what is the value add they provide. If the value add when we studied, when Suresha, Shesha, Harisha, we all sat in class, the professor is to come to the class and he will lecture. He will tell, talk. We write down notes, and take it home. Today, I could record that on my phone, ask GPT to summarize what I should learn, and ask GPT to say, which book should I read to understand a topic better? Why is that hampering? It actually makes me more intelligent. It makes me more powerful in the knowledge application. So to me, and by the way, what you're describing is not inconsistent. In fact, one of the biggest trends in the US universities is they are saying we'll go back to paper and pen. We will ask students to write with paper and pen in the exam hall because you guys are reading all these GPTs and coming back and answering. So now Microsoft has come with a solution that if you take any sentence from GPT, put it in if you copy it anywhere, it will show immediately G, which basically says that particular sentence have been copied from a GPT text. So there are technologies that is going to evolve that will prevent that. But my bias is I don't think it'll hamper. I think it'll expand a student's ability to read and hypothesize.
Let me move on to the next question, sir. So the next question is from Chinmay. He says that robotics in agriculture has been successful in the West. How well it could penetrate in Indian agriculture? How will the farmers accept that particular thing?
I mean, listen, I don't know the answer to the question other than one simple point, Chinmay, is that if you take Harisha has Arakanut farms. His biggest challenge is what? Labor to harvest. Coffee. What's the biggest problem? Labor to harvest. I think in the harvesting territory, robotics will start to play a much quicker role in India because when season comes, you're not getting labor and you're getting a lot of spoilage of fruits and vegetables. Well, the fastest, most efficient way will be robotics. So I think the farmer is going to use capabilities. Farmers are very entrepreneurial in India. They will use the most efficient way to get to where they want. I personally don't think it is a farmer who's resistant. You know who's more resistant? The middlemen. They are worried about how much power you put in the hands of the farmers, because the more information you put in the farmer and say you harvest it in the morning at 8 o'clock, there is a demand 50 miles away in this mandi for onions at this price, and you have a truck available to transport it, everything can be automated. Who's winning in that story? The farmer. So when the farmers start to realize they're going to win the story game, I feel like it is not going to be resistant. Now, I'm obviously not talking with experience in India. I can tell you in the United States, the farmers have completely embraced technology, and most farmers now use robotics in many applications. I think India is no different. It's only a matter of time before India catches up. But if you ask me where India is going to probably start, it's probably going to be in harvesting, because the demand supply curve in harvesting is distorted. And that's the place when most people find it troublesome to get labor.
Sir, one more question from Professor Usha Ravindra from the Food and Nutrition. She has asked how the AI will help in the nutritional security.
That's a very brilliant question. See, I think when you say nutrition security, I indicated that 65% of all calories come from three sources of rice, maize, and wheat. I think what AI can help. So I'll give an example of my farm that I have not built yet, but I'm starting to build. I said, listen, I want 8 sources of diverse nutrition. Show me a map of how I will plant 8 sources of nutrition. And I didn't tell which plant. I just said, I need so much carbohydrates. I want so many nutrients, so many minerals. And it gave a model. It basically said, in this acre, you can plant 2 acres of this particular cauliflower variety that has high magnesium. It is perfectly suitable for the slope. The rest 8 acres, here is what you can plant. And all of that, it did less than a day. I mean, I did not do any brain work. So my answer to the question, Dr. Usha, would be that the power of technology to compute things that and if you say in the village of take Kolar or take Chikmagalur or take any district and say, in this district, we have this huge nutritional gap. Tell me, knowing the weather conditions, the soil conditions, all those conditions, what is the minimum acreage of crop that I can put in that can change the nutritional profile in that area? It will tell you. Today, I think it is, human mind can, of course, compute it, but it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of effort. The best way to think of it, Dr. Usha, is not just the answer, but it also provides system optimization. System optimization will say, and if you want to plant it, here is the places you can buy seeds, here is where you can sell your produce, and here is how it is going to change the nutrition profile of that district. So that's the power. It's not just telling you what crops or one specific source of nutrition, it's the system-wide view that it provides. By the way, I'm answering these questions. If you guys disagree or debate, please let me know, because I have authorship right on any of these.
So the next question is that what is the role of agriculture in carbon markets from Mr. Rajat?
Yeah, see, carbon markets is a concept that is not as mature yet in India. And, the United States and India are in this big debate with China about US and India and China rightfully are saying, hey, US, you guys polluted the world. Now you're telling us to control our carbon emissions, right? So why are you telling us to do carbon emissions when you guys were the ones who started all the carbon issues in the world and looking at us? So I think it's a political issue. So the role of agriculture in carbon markets and its ability to influence is going to be low initially. The US, one thing is there that if you want to produce a pound of, for one hamburger, you can grow 1 acre of vegetables. That's the amount of carbon offset that is happening because, as you know, cattle produces a lot of methane gas, which has a massive effect on greenhouse. So I don't know, Rajat, whether this will have a big impact in India initially, at least for the next decade. I suspect it may not, but that's just my opinion. It's not based on good facts.
Moving on to the next one is, sir, whether this AI helps in connecting the farmers directly with consumers in domestic and global way.
Yeah, I personally think yes. I can grow 2 kilograms of tomato and send it to a particular home, and I can have that entire supply chain controlled by me. So, for example, in Hawaii, one of the things that I'm trying to do is to construct for social cause. I want to basically feed the nutrition, and I want to connect it through an e-commerce business. So the plant is grown, harvested by robots, sent by a distribution system, an e-commerce channel, and actually sent directly to the home of the user. You can connect users and consumers at a global level will be difficult, domestic for certain, I believe. And by the way, India is the leader on this space. I think you all know how the auction markets work in India. I think when you look at milk, and if you look at what, the entire white revolution started by, I forget the name, but the entire white revolution and how it has been translated, I think India will be leading in that space. So I personally believe the ability for GPT and AI to drive the connection between a farmer and the consumer and the intermediate space becoming smaller and smaller is pretty large.
So the next question is a very large one. So I'll just read out. Many of the Indian startups here are the replication of the US companies in many of the sectors like delivery, aggregator models, etc. But I think there are less startups in India that are actually working on the post-harvest losses to reduce the future hunger, as you said. So can you please say about the successful startups in the US that can be taken as a reference to build successful ventures in India to tap this potential side of reducing the hunger by vertical farming and reducing the post-harvest losses, etc. Though we know vertical farming in India since many years, but people are not taking up. What might be the problem and how to overcome that one in India?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know the top of my head the startups in India that do things, but you're raising the most critical point. There is enough agricultural production in the world to take care of every human being in the world. Yet, 1/3 of the world goes hungry. Why is that? There's two reasons. One is wastage, and second is the inefficiency in transportation and logistics to get the food to the hand of the user, right? Those are the two fundamental issues. I can come back to Sheshai and give you the names of these. I don't have in the top of my head what the startups are. But my question is, why worry about US startups? My request to the students here in the master's and PhD program is, you should be the beacon of the startup. Why do you have to look at US? Why do you think US is going to solve an Indian problem? I personally believe innovation in the next 20 years is going to be India-led. And think of in my healthcare, I work in healthcare. Who do you think is who is writing my entire advanced generative AI code in Bangalore? I have a startup in Bangalore that is doing it for me. Who's writing the code for NFTs, which is called non-fungible tokens in financial trading? Startups in Chennai. So I think innovation in India is not visible. And the campus, the GKVK, and you guys can do a phenomenal job of making it visible. And I think you guys should be the driver of the startup. I can give you some names, to be honest, but I personally believe India could be the leader on some of these spaces, because the complexity of taking a piece of fruit in India through the Indian road systems, getting it to the markets and getting it in the hands of the consumer is a unique problem. Only India can solve it. And while some startups might give you some ideas, I think the opportunity is there for you. That's way easier for me to say, but that's my philosophic feeling. Let me go through some of the rest of the questions because it's easier for me to read. What are the potential initiatives of AI and ML when it comes to plant breeding? In plant breeding, the applications in ML is an analysis. What I've learned is you can take an entire DNA sequencing and run a full DNA sequencing for 3 crops and tell all the combinations of potential mismatches and combinations that can actually yield a progeny that is valuable. To do this analysis, typically when Shesha and I studied, it would have taken us a couple of years. Now it takes 20 minutes. So to me, the speed at which you can process huge volumes of data, I'll tell you the most important, the biggest skill that students have to pick up is not the ability to analyze, but to ask the right question. Because if you don't ask the right question, this powerful tool will create all kinds of, bullshit responses that will not be valuable to you. So in the area of plant breeding, I personally think, and by the way, Dr. Chinnappa, who is a good friend of Shesha, myself, and Suresha and all that, he was with me in the home last week, and he was talking about the advancements of human genomics and how AI and GPT is massively being able to look at all the genome sequences, determine what the right sequences can be applied in plant breeding, think of 1 million combination of genes that yield it, and tell you that if you breed this plant with this plant, this is the best combo. All of that can be done in matter of days now, compared to the years we took to do a PhD. So that would be the space. Now, I don't know exactly what techniques. I'm sure that Shesha and the others will probably, and Krishnaraj in particular, will probably be able, especially with the knowledge of microbiology, they will have far better understanding on what the question should be. But once you identify the question, the answers are pretty easy to go. By the way, just so Rajat, you asked the scope for agriculture and gadgets and carbon market. I don't fully understand the question of what a carbon market is. So at some point, if you can explain it a little more, I think that question came back a bit earlier as well. So let me go to the next one, which is entomology. Even though we are facing illiteracy as a main threat to move towards advanced agriculture with respect to farmers. It's a good question. Do you think smart farming can be applied? See, listen, when we studied, when I think of the days I studied in Bangalore, the literacy levels in farming was much higher than what it is today. I think with the advancement of social media that is available, TikTok is now becoming bigger than YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram combined. And what is TikTok? It's really now, of course, TikTok is not available in India because of its Chinese origins, but the social platforms are massive in reach, and you don't have to be literate to use a social platform. I mean, I don't have to be literate in crop physiology to tell you I can submit a paper to Shesha and he may not know who wrote the paper, and he might say, man, this is a great paper. And all I've done is copied other papers. So to me, I personally don't think literacy is going to be the constraint. It's adaptation of technology and the availability of bandwidth that people can use, because a lot of bandwidth is needed. So that's kind of my bias. Again, some of these are my opinions. I don't think it's based on facts, so I have to be very careful for making those comments. And I want to be respectful of time. I know it's 9:53 here, but I know that I think you said you had a hard stop, but let me look at the next two questions. How is AI, this is by Sahana SM, how is AI currently be used in analyzing dietary habits and providing personalized nutrition recommendations? This is, by the way, it's called personalized medicine. Personalized medicine and personalized nutrition is looking at your gut profile in your stomach and determining the combination of nutrients that will be perfect for absorption based on the physiological conditions of the human being. I mean, that is where it is being used. Now, you're talking about more broader construct of, can you create personalized nutrition recommendations? Yeah, I think you can. Today, I just went to my doctor yesterday because I have, this little device here for managing. I think you can see it. It's a little device that manages my sugar readings entire day, right? And my doctor gets it through an app directly in the doctor's office. And every week the doctor sends, hey, last week you ate too much rice. You may take it down. Here is the 2 things you may want to supplement. And I get an email from the doctor every week, and I have reduced my HbA1c, which is, the sugar indicator, from 7 to 6, less than 6. And all I did was put this little chip, and the chip tells the doctor, and the doctor tells me, and because it is so quick, it changes my nutrition. It changes what I eat and what I drink. I also know at 9 a.m. if I eat in a dosa, promptly you can see what happens. And so if I slightly change dosa with eggs, it changes. And it's amazing how much you can personalize nutrition and the ability of technology and capabilities like this to do that. So I'm just using my example here to tell you it is here. The ability to use these are already available. How is robots going to affect unemployment? In rural farmers are marginal, so they're another source of income if labor is lost. I think that's a very, very, very relevant question. I don't know that robots are going to substitute common labor and what the social impact of this is. The biggest worry in America today on generative AI is what you're writing. Is the first revolution was the guy who was the horse rider, the horse carriage driver, became a taxi driver or the car driver, and he said, my God, my job is gone. The taxi driver then became, the taxi driver became no longer taxi, I'm going to drive my own car. And now we are reaching autonomous driving where you don't need drivers at some point. What's going to happen? The biggest thing I've learned is human beings innovate. When those things happen, the world changes and innovation occurs. But there is a big fear to the question. I don't know, Pam 2216. I don't know what, it's probably a phone number. But what I'm hearing, what I've heard is that this is a governmental issue. The government will have to intervene to say, where can you use some of these capabilities, because its impact on society, especially the marginal impact on society, is going to be bad. I think that's the downside of these things. And that's something that policymakers like Suresh Shah and others will have to influence the government to determine what's the right approach on that topic. Decision supports have been in cultivation, but the field of agriculture market information, especially farmers, is lacking. Any successful AI-enabled DSS in the area popular across the world? I can check on it. I don't know the answer to that question top of my head. I don't want to just make up something, but some of these questions I'll have to just come back with a more specific response to be respectful to Dr. Ranganath because I don't want to just make up stories of answers. I will find out. It's very easy to find out, but those are things that, I've already mentioned to Dr. Suresh as well that we can find ways to collaborate in new ways, and the world is flat. You guys are incredible talent. I mean, look at all the types of questions you ask. You ask a lot of great questions, and I'm actually thrilled to see the depth of your questions. I mean, these are not superficial questions. These are well thought out, well framed, and I will always be available because I have my heart, studying in the campus, running around those mango trees and stealing mangoes, and all those memories we have, I think cannot be substituted. And I always owe it to university for making me who I am. And I always am thankful to that. So with that, Shesha, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Before we go to that one, sir, anything to say from Dean PGS, sir, Professor Dr. Prakash, sir?
ಹಲೋ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ
ಸರ್, ಅದು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು.
ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಯಾಕೆ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ?
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್, ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಗಣೇಶ್ ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ.
ಆನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಮೇ ಬಿ ಸಮ್ ಲಿಡ್ ಏನೋ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್. ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಇಸ್ ಆನ್ ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್.
ಓಕೆ.
ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ವಾಯ್ಸ್
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಸಮ್ ಲಿಡ್ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್ ಮುಂದೆ.
ಸರ್, ಎಸ್ ಸರ್. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ ಸರ್. Just 1 year senior to you. CSI, we know very well. Of course, during GKVK visit also you delivered very good talk. It was very attractive talk. Now also you dealt all the aspects, sir. It's very nice. It's very useful to us. Robotic you covered, vertical garden, of course. In order to secure the nutrient security, of course, India is a deficiency of many nutrients, 10, 11 nutrients in the soil. By vertical garden, I think we can make up something, especially urban area. We can supply some vegetables, other things. It's also a good trade, sir. And all other things you have covered, everything. It's an excellent talk, sir. So we are very thankful to you, sir, on behalf of our postgraduate studies at the University of Agricultural Sciences. We thank you, sir, for your valuable time given to us, that too for us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to me.
Yes, sir.
So Shesha, good night. Oh, actually, good morning. Not good night.
Hello.
Sir, VC, sir.
Hari, you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Honorable board member.
Yes.
I'm just a friend of all of you, not honorable. and thanks a lot, Jaya. It was amazing sitting here for the entire conversation. As you rightly said, you got some amazing questions. That shows how interested our students are. And one more thing is, to be specific, I want to compliment Shesha Shai. I think he's an unsung hero. Your chat GPT question has picked up Shesha. So that's because most of our students do not know his potential.
I think ChatGPT is as stupid as I can be.
I know.
Shesha, I don't think everybody knows that how many papers that you have got citations on. I was surprised. 3,500.
Most of them are unaware actually. So that's one very good thing about all of. Now, one more thing is, I and Jaya were discussing about some collaborations. Maybe he is going to start his farm at Maui, if I'm right.
Right.
Hawaii. Yeah, Maui is the name of the place, 42 acres farm. Production farm, and you can also name it as a research farm, so that wherever possible, we can have some collaborations. If it is going to be feasible. With at least, it might help our students. Maybe a sandwich course or some 1 or 2 small courses.
Right. I think the Hawaii University has one graduate from our university as well in the agriculture university. So. But I think,
I think initially we have to collaborate with Hawaii University, then come behind you.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, I think you have given your valuable time. It's late for you. For us, no problem. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you, Shesha. As always, you guys do
Suresh
there-
is also here.
A few words from Vice Chancellor, sir.
JAYAKUMAR, thank you.
Yes,
In
sir.
fact, you have picked a lot of lessons also. And as you
Yes.
rightly pointed out, the university has got potentiality to carry out most of the things which the people are already doing
Right.
it. Sometimes we may be the pioneers in adapting those technologies also. But as you rightly pointed out, definitely we have these areas in our mind as on a prioritized basis. And we would like to work on robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also as you said, that vertical gardening, vertical farming, so that it is picking up in the urban areas like Bangalore, Mangalore, Mysore, and other places. But still there is a lot of scope for increasing it, and just to make it self-sufficient cities in terms of vegetables, fruits, and other things, and which may
Right.
also cater to the nutritional requirement of the people of the urban areas. And the rest of the things, I am really surprised after seeing the questions from our students and the faculty. And it's because of their experience. Most of them are from the farming background, and they know the difficulties of farming in the rural areas. And that's why they started asking you about the illiteracy of the farming community or the lack of knowledge on getting the information. And also most of the times they may not be aware of the technologies that are existing in the market. And also based on how this the communication may be enhanced among the farming communities with the scientists. So a lot of the pretty very good questions which are little bit, and sometimes I am very happy that they have asked the questions for which you said it's not in my mind, let me find out and come back to you. So
That's right.
so 2 questions you have promptly replied that you may not be able to answer at the right time. But
Right.
still JAYAKUMAR, we are very happy. And last time when you were in Bangalore, I promised you that continuously we will be having these kinds of interactions with our MSc and PhD students. My intention here is just to make the students trigger their minds towards the technology, and whoever is capable and whoever is interested in a particular technology, not necessarily that everybody has to copy the same thing, and they can move on to their field of specializations. Let them get connected with the persons who are already working on it, and let them get exposed. And yesterday I was discussing with Dr. Prasanna Kumar, a professor of plant pathology, and I told him, every year let me find out some 10 students, keeping 1 crore rupee earmarked exclusively for students, exposures with overseas scientists, and then sending them for 2 months or 3 months specialized training in their field of specializations, and see that they come back to India, to US, Bangalore. In turn, they benefit other students who may not be able to go to such kind of the center of excellence.
Experience.
So this is what I am thinking, because I believe in a concept, developing human resources, the utmost priority on this particular day of technology.
No, I share that same passion, Suresha, because I feel like this campus has got brilliant people. We are only limited by our own imagination and potential. And if you can give them the opportunities that you described, I think this can become a premier campus, not just in India, but also the world. So I applaud the fact that you're even going down this path. So thank you.
Thank you, JAYAKUMAR. In fact, let's look forward for further association and right now what I am thinking, let me come out with a team of few scientists who can be in touch with you regularly.
Absolutely.
And because as you said, the world is too small now, they can reach out any point of time, and we will find out. Likewise, we would like to create a group of scientists from scientists, the management experts, and other people working in different walks of life. And let me make a group, a team, and find out what best we can do it in US, Bangalore, in the interest of bringing excellence to the university, and also bringing good human resource from US, Bangalore. Thank you, JAYAKUMAR, for your valuable time. And
absolutely.
Let us be in touch.
I will. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, JAYAKUMar. Thank you. Very
Bye.
kind of you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
So,
thank
Jaya, thanks a lot. Now, go back to bed. I think you have some more work to do, or going back to bed now.
I have to go and drink some more wine. All right.
Enjoy, Jaya. Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
day, Mother, and thank you so much. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
ಹೇಳಪ್ಪ